What's your, let's say, 5-year plan?
My 5-year plan would be to start. Well, the first year is going to be construction. The second year would be to recuperate the investment, and years 3 to 5 would be to bring in profits.
And do you plan, you said you wanted to attract more what did you, I think you used the word, what did you mean by that?
We're it's kind of confidential. I'll try to talk about it. The second floor, we're thinking about doing let's say every 3 months, different type of fashion design that's coming new. Have it possible.
Guidance as far as what can be built, what can be sold, what can't be sold.
Correct.
The previous council has also made it clear that the intention was not to legalize cannabis, and I've also made my own personal, I've also stated my own personal
sort of say on the issue, where I feel like the idea of cannabis being sold in the city should be just strictly led up to the voters, and the voters should decide if they want to legalize it or not. I think everybody knows that about how I stand on this. But what I would recommend is, if we're going to move forward with a retail location like this, which I'm for moving forward with a retail location like this, would be if there's some sort of workshop component attached to it when this location gets up and running, right? Because the thing that's going to happen is that a lot of times our community members might assume, right, that it's associated with it, and they're going to just connect the dots and say that perhaps they might be selling it, right? Obviously, we know for a fact that you're not going to be doing that, because that's not allowed, and in the contract it clearly says that it's not going to be allowed. But the thing is that our community might think otherwise. So what I would say is, let's provide some sort of let's provide some sort of workshops or some sort of community input to clarify those supposed notions or stigmas, and be transparent about it and say, hey, we got this amazing building. They repaired the old days hardware. Look, and I mean, it's beautiful. It's an up and running. It definitely catches the eye. And although it has that sort of stigma notion, that's not what they're doing, right? This is strictly retail. So that's something that I would say that we should consider to the bare minimum, right? Include community input afterwards, and not necessarily just to clear up any sort of stigmas or notions, and just be very transparent with the public. That's sort of my idea. And I know we're going to move forward with the voting, but I hope that that's taken into account. I don't know if that'll have to be amended by the motion, or what the case would be. But yeah, I don't know if legal can provide some sort of input on that. Thank you.
Yeah, if I may, Mayor, I just want to point out that we're starting to have a conversation about cannabis within the city of Bell Gardens, and I want to make it clear that that currently is not permitted. At some point down the road, could that be the case? Yes. However, there is a process that we would need to follow in order to do that. The public would have input, obviously, if we were going to go down that road. There is no plan, as I sit here right now, to do that. But I do want to make everybody aware of the fact that if we do go down that route, the public will be notified, there'll be public hearings, and everybody will know what the intention of the city is. We are not at that point. The only thing before you tonight is a proposed merchandise store, which is going to sell different types of clothing to the public. No cannabis will be sold at this facility, period. If they do sell it, we're going to have problems. This gentleman here assures me that that's not the case. The contract says that's not the case. And I'm sure the chief agrees that's not going to happen. So as long as we're all clear, I just think it's important that the public understands that this is just a retail store, period. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
All right, at this point, I will go ahead and move forward with the vote. I had a motion made by myself, seconded by Councilmember Cortez, and I'll go ahead and take a roll call, starting with Agency Member Chavez.
Yes.
Cortez.
Yes.
Flores.
No.
Vice Chair Pulido.
Yes.
And yes for myself, so motion carries. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today and your presentation as well. I believe that is the only item left, so we will now move to public participation on non-agenda items. Public participation is now open. Agency Secretary, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers and no emails to be read.
If there's no objection by the agency members, I will close public participation. Does any agency member wish to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, if there's no
Yeah, I
objection.
just wanted to add one more thing. I'm all for developing the city. I understand that there's a crucial need to make sure that we're bringing, sustainability to the city by bringing in businesses that provide taxes and help our community, the economy. And I would love to be for a retail store, but to just ignore and make this decision of selling a property without the community actually having an input, for me, it's just, it's just out of the question. And that's why I voted the way that I did. And I just wanted to clarify that before we finalize the successor agency. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. If there's no objection by the successor agency, I will adjourn to the successor agency meeting at 6:40 p.m. and call to order the city council meeting. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, August 23rd, 2021, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Bell Garden City Council. The meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, please be advised that members of the Bell Garden City Council will participate in today's meeting telephonically. Council members and staff are participating from remote locations. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any city council member should have a conflict of interest virtually, please leave the room by turning off video and muting yourself. You may still keep listening to the meeting. City Clerk, would you please call the roll of the City Council?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez?
Present.
Cortez?
Present.
Flores?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Present.
Mayor Barsana?
Present. Thank you. City Attorney, will you please give the closed session reports for the City Council and Successor Agency?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The following was my report on the City Council closed session item. As to the single City Council agenda closed session item, the City Council received a report from its designated representative. Feedback was provided, but no final action was taken. As to both items under the Successor Agency closed session, the Successor Agency received a report from the city's designated representatives. Feedback was provided by the Successor Agency, but no final action was taken. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to the first item on the agenda. Public participation is now open for items listed on the agenda. City Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers and no emails to be read.
There are no speakers and no emails to be read. Thank you so much. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will close public participation. City Manager, will you please give us your report?
Thank you, Mayor Barsana. Just like to acknowledge last weekend, there was a bike rodeo for bike safety, particularly for children, as they're harder to see when they're out there riding around. Also, we had another family food distribution. This is the last week for the summer concerts and movies, so check our calendar for Tuesday and Thursday. If you haven't had a chance to go out there, please do so. It's a great time, nice weather. We're continuously working on testing and vaccination needs of the community, so it's changed somewhat rapidly over the last month or so. We went from a few months ago having testing sites, then we switched to vaccination sites, which kind of dried up to some degree, and now we're working again on testing sites, particularly as it relates to children going back to school. Also, I want to just make a note on Thursday at 6 p.m. this Thursday, there's a special planning commission meeting. It's for the housing element. Also, just if anybody listening, if you're interested, check out our calendar on the website. You can click on any day and see what's going on. It'll give you an address, give you an idea of what some of the specifics. And also just want to note, if you saw on top of City Hall, the city is in the midst of celebrating its 60th anniversary. So there's a giant cake on the building currently. There's also a banner out there. And we'll be posting more information shortly for a 60th birthday celebration on September 15th at Ford Park, as in the same time as we'll be doing our Fiestas Patrias event. Thank you, Mayor Barsana.
Thank you, City Manager, for that. We are now moving on to the consent calendar. We have items 1 through 5. Does any member of the City Council wish to pull any item for separate discussion? I have a motion to approve items 1 through 5.
Moved Cortez.
Go ahead, second, Flores.
I have a motion by Cortez and a second by Flores. I will take it to a roll call. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Cortez?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
And yes for myself, so motion carries and consent calendar is approved unanimously. And now we are at the discussion section of our meeting. We have item number 6, discussion of Native Tribe acknowledgement, and I believe someone wanted to table this, is that correct?
Yes, Mayor Barsana, if I may.
Please go ahead.
So I'm glad that this was brought to the agenda this week. Before we do continue on this discussion item, I do want to acknowledge that this is a very important issue to me, as it is to our council here before us. I'm glad to see it again posted on our agenda and us discussing it. I've been in contact with various nonprofits and experience with Native tribe acknowledgements and
I'm
recognition.
sorry, Mayor, as a correction, are we tabling this item or are we discussing it? Just for clarification.
May I have a motion to table the item?
I'm just making my statement before I make my motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember. It's just that seems like if we're going into discussion and if we're tabling an item, we shouldn't be discussing it, at least to my knowledge.
I was going to make my motion after my statement,
Thank you.
if I may.
Go ahead, please.
So as I was saying, I've been in contact with various nonprofits who have more experience in regards to Native tribe recognitions. And I want to make sure we have the correct information with the prospective tribes that I acknowledged before, being Tongva, Kish, and Chumash Native tribes. With that said, I want to make a motion to continue having further conversations and clarify exactly the ceremonial and acknowledgement of Native tribes. And therefore, I would say we table this item until those conversations are had.
Thank you for that, and I will go ahead and second that, so we'll table this item. Do we need to vote on that, City Attorney? Okay, the direction is clear.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to discussion item number 7. City Manager, will you please announce this item?
Thanks again, Mayor Barsina. This item is regarding the preschool site at Marlowe Park. The building is, you'll notice that if you go to the park, obviously stands out, and staff, mostly myself, our Recreation Community Services Director, weren't here 20 years ago when the initial agreement was signed with the agency that has provided preschool education there over the last few years. It's obviously been vacant due to COVID, and we're just going into the details of the agreements that exist, and our Recreation Community Services Director has done a good job digging into the history of it, and basically bringing 3 options for which we're going to seek direction from the council. And with that, I'll turn it over to Roseanne, our Recreation Community Services Director.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The report before you, as the City Manager mentioned, is to seek your direction with 3 possible options. In March of 2001, the City of Bell Gardens entered into a 10-year agreement with Codela to provide preschool programs. The general information on the agreement was it was a 10-year agreement at $1 a year. That agreement expired in 2011, and since then there's been no follow-up, no additional reports or agreements with the group. So there has been no payment to date from the Finance Department for any of the $1 charges. Staff had the opportunity to go out to the site. The Public Works Director, Grizel Chavez, Anna Avalos, the Recreation Supervisor, and myself met with their Executive Director, Mr. Rubalcava, and one of his assistants. We toured the site. It's not in bad shape. All year they've been operating virtually. And so now they're looking at trying to come back into the building. I did notify them that at this point we do not have an agreement, and if we were to go forward with an additional agreement, I would need direction from the City Council so as to open a RFP process for proposals. So the 3 options that we've come up with so far is to serve Codela with final notice to vacate the premises, develop an RFP for the provision of a licensed preschool program, and seek appropriate compensation. 2 is to sever the official notice to serve the official notice to Codela to vacate and proceed with the city-operated preschool, licensed preschool and learning center. And 3 would be to allow Codela to remain and operate on a month-to-month until we were able to complete the RFP process. They currently operate another preschool program, licensed preschool program here in Bell Gardens, as well as Maywood and in Hawthorne. So that pretty much concludes my report. Three options that have to deal with uh, the financing of this. It's estimated that we could earn anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 per month with a licensed provider if that was one of the options. And two would be if the city were to take over, then most of these fees would be absorbed through the licensing of a state program that could operate at the facility. And there would be some revenues if we decided to move forward with the Creative Kids program. And the third option would be to seek a monthly revenue of $2,500 per month per classroom. If we allowed Covella to operate on a month to month. And so in the report, I've attached the original lease agreement, what the floor plan looks like of the facility, and some pictures. They were in the process of doing some remodeling, some flooring, and some painting. So that concludes my report. I'm seeking direction from the council as to how to proceed.
Mayor Barcena, before we move forward, can I just allow the Recreation Community Services Director, while she's provided three broad options here, I think it'd be important for the council to hear from the staff perspective, what we think is the most, beneficial option for the community, and then obviously the council can give us direction in these three options or some other option as well.
Yeah,
If you could give us your opinion.
So my opinion is that the hardest part of a licensed daycare center is the qualifying the facility. The facility does qualify as the state regulations. So if the city were to apply for a license for a childcare facility and operate a city-run childcare facility, uh, one, it could operate at no cost to the residents if they qualify under the regulations and the criteria for their income. Um, I would say 99% of our residents would qualify for that. We could implement a program that would be a fee-based childcare program in the event that a Bell Gardens resident does not qualify for the free childcare service. I think it would be beneficial from the standpoint that we could hire additional staff that would be most likely, in this case, Bell Gardens residents, so we would increase the employment factor. And also the state would subsidize a number of the cost elements, which would be the Wi-Fi expenses, the staffing reimbursement, all of the supplies, equipment, the educational materials that would be purchased, and it would be more than 100% of it would be reimbursed to the city. So from that standpoint, it would also give us an opportunity to run a program such as a learning center. One of the things that we observed a couple of weeks ago is at the block party that was very well attended by the children that live in and around Marlowe Park, is that there's a number of school-age children that live in the apartments and in the homes that are very close by. They could benefit from a after-school homework center, learning center type of environment. I don't think they live close enough to another site where it would be easy for, say, mom or dad to say, yeah, go ahead and go to the park and you can get this program. This is their neighborhood park. So to be able to bring recreational programming, educational opportunities to a site where there's so many apartments and residential area, I think would be beneficial to the city to bring back recreational programming to the site. The facility is really not in bad shape. It just could use probably a little bit of maintenance Uh, but it's in pretty good shapes. It's a facility that, in my opinion, actually looks better than a couple of our other rec centers. It's in better shape. So in my opinion, I think if the city were to run an in-house program, it would be more beneficial to the community.
Thank you. I have a quick question before I open up for comments and questions. The actual building is like a bungalow, correct?
Correct. It's two modular classrooms that are jointed in the center. There's a set of restrooms inside that divides the two areas, as well as an office, some storage area, and a kitchen. So it's very well equipped and meets all the needs as required by state licensed childcare program.
And do we know if there was any investment in that structure by Codela or anyone else besides the city?
It was purchased as part of the state programming well over 20 years ago. The state finds that there's very little value of being able to move it anyplace else. There would be, it would not be suitable to move. It would need some improvements, finish up the painting, I believe, the flooring. Griselle was there and figured that we might spend anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 just to complete the rest of the flooring. That could not be done by, say, our public works crew. If our public works crew can do it, then obviously the cost would be significantly less.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Any comments, questions? Go ahead, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for taking lead on this, Roseanne. Really appreciate seeing this, as well as Griselle for keeping us updated on how the building is doing and whatnot. I do want to make a comment briefly about the block party and sort of that feel that we had being there. I believe I was in attendance. I know Councilmember Cortez was also in attendance, and it felt really good deviating from the usual Veterans Park and Ford Park, which are our two big parks here at our city. And I feel like with this site, with this location, if we were to move forward with recommendation number 2, for example, it'll be a great opportunity to provide more programming at this park, other than Veterans and Ford Park. And yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed seeing that day, the kids, the jumper. I mean, you name it. We had a lot of. It felt really good. You saw the bright colors in that park, and with those huge trees, like it was just phenomenal. And compared to like our other smaller park, whether that be in Scout, Darwell, or Gallant, Marlow seems to be very well developed environmentally. So I believe Mayor Barcena in the past previously worked on a grant proposal for the playground that's already in place there, and the playground is still in good shape as well. So I feel like there's a couple things here and there that need to be tightened up with the park, but I'm glad that we're taking initiative. And with that said, if allowed, I'd like to make a motion to serve official notice to Codella to vacate the facility and proceed with the city-operated preschool program and learning/recreational center.
And I'll go ahead and second that, but I still want to allow my colleagues to continue with their comments or any other questions.
Mayor,
Please go ahead.
I just want to also just echo and reiterate what Councilmember Chavez mentioned. We did very nice to have programming. It was a good use of that space. I do want to thank Roseanne for bringing this wonderful option forward, and our Parks and Recs for looking, and also our Public Works. We're just looking at all of our different facilities. And for a city, I'm sorry, for a city sponsored facility, but I just want to mention that our staff is doing a great job and definitely utilizing our spaces adequately. That is.
Thank you, council member. It was breaking up a little bit, but I think we understood the gist of your comment. And I just want to echo that by saying that this type of action from our staff, it just shows the amount of progress that we've made in the last 3 years. This would have never happened when I was an employee due to the lack of leadership. But now that we have the right people in the right places, I'm very happy to see continuous growth. What this means to me is It's basically the option of expanding our services, and not only that, but creating jobs for members of our community who, like myself, can gain some experience working in the city as recreation leaders, and then build an entire career off of that, you know, built around service to the community. So that's what I see here. So I'm definitely in support of this, and I'm seconding Councilmember Chavez's motion, and I will go ahead and take it to a roll call.
I wanted to go ahead and add some comments.
Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, the same thing. Just kind of want to thank, Roseanne, for bringing this up, and to our Public Works Director for, it was because of some graffiti, that you went in there and kind of everything got the ball rolling, right? So it's just, looking at small things, that theory, when you see a broken window, you kind of just you just stare at it and it just becomes part of the decoration. So thank you so much for, actively looking into the improvement of our city. In our country alone, there's millions of women and men who lack childcare, right? I mean, if you're a single mother, it's difficult for you to advance in your career because there's not enough childcare, and some can't afford it, right? So this, to me, what I foresee in the future, other than what's being presented here, is maybe the opportunity to have subsidized childcare, to see if we can seek those grants and seek those vouchers so that we can offer this type of care for our working parents so that they may succeed, right? As a local government, we can't change the size of your home and we can't change your income, but we can provide you with resources and opportunities for you to thrive. And I genuinely feel like this is a huge opportunity for our families. And so just want to make sure that, you understand, and to the public that's out there, that this is something that we can advocate for you. And this is really, really amazing. So thank you to all of the parties that are putting this together. And I'm in full support of this.
Thank you for your comment, Councilmember Flores. And I'll go ahead and take this to a vote with the motion from Councilmember Chavez and a second by myself. And we'll start with Councilmember Chavez.
Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Cortez. Councilmember Cortez, are you there? Okay, she might still be there. We'll wait. Maybe we'll get her vote in a little bit. Councilmember Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
And yes for myself. So let me check one more time. Councilmember Cortez, are you there? We're asking for your vote. Okay, I just got word from our city attorney that she indicated to him that her vote was a yes. So the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And now we're moving on to discussion item number 8.
Thanks again, Mayor Barsana. This item is staff recommendation that council make any changes or appointments as necessary to the attached matrix of council appointments. So at this time, if there are any council members that would like to make any changes, they can make a motion. Thank you.
I would like to appoint Councilmember Chavez to my seat in the Gateway Cities Council of Governments as delegate.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, I'll go ahead and take it to a vote. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Cortez? Okay, Councilmember Cortez is no longer in the meeting, so we'll go ahead and skip that one. Councilmember Flores? Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
And yes for myself, so motion carries.
Mayor, if I may?
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the council taking initiative and allowing me to be the representative or the delegate for the Gateway Cities Council of Governments. And I'll make sure to report adequately our upcoming meetings and keep you all updated on how the meetings go. Thank you so much.
Mayor, if I just quickly, before we move on to the next item, City Clerk, if you could just indicate for the record that Councilwoman Cortez had to sign off at approximately 6:59. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and
On that notion, I'm happy you're going to be on the COG. I think it's important to delegate different opportunities to different. So hopefully we can see your name on another one so that it could be more evenly distributed.
all right. Now we're moving on to discussion item number 9.
Thanks again, Mayor Barsina. This item, it's staff recommendation that the council, by motion, adopt a resolution accepting the completion of the emergency community garden water line replacement. As you may remember, we brought an emergency item to council 2 meetings back, followed up at the last meeting, requesting authority to make emergency repairs at the community garden water line. At this time, before we seek that motion, I just ask our Public Works Director, Grisel Chavez, do you have PIP photos available to show the progress at this time, or would that be too difficult?
I'm sorry, I do not. Just the ones that were provided in the council report.
Okay, so there were some providing council report. It was a significant amount of improvements. I would say probably 15, 20 years in the making to improve the water service to the approximately 70 garden lots over there at the community garden. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and Grisel's available as well too.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from my colleagues? I'll go ahead and make a motion to follow staff recommendation and adopt resolution number 2021-72, accepting completion of the emergency community garden water line replacement project by All American Asphalt and terminating emergency contracting actions pursuant to Public Contract Code Section 22050.
I'll second that.
Thank you, and I'll go ahead and take it to a roll call, starting with Councilmember Chavez.
Yes.
Cortez, I believe she's still logged off, right? And Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido,
Yes.
and yes for myself, so motion carries. We are now at public participation and it's now open for non-agenda items. City Clerk, are there any speakers?
Mayor, there are no speakers, but we do have 2 emails to be read.
Okay, if you can please read them, thank you.
First comment is from Asia Powell, Local Government Liaison, California Public Utilities Commission. I'm providing comments to let you know that the CPUC is doing to help customers avoid energy bill disconnections because of COVID-19. Disconnections of residents and small business customers have been suspended through September 30, 2021. Customers of large investor-owned utilities with arrearages over 60 days old would automatically be enrolled in a 24-month payment plan, which provides residents customers 2 years over which to pay off their deferred energy bills. All energy utility, large or small, must automatically enroll their small business customers in plans with payout terms long enough so that the debt payments are no more than 10% over their average bill. For small businesses, customers located in disadvantaged communities, no more than 5% over their average bill. Together with significant state and federal funded arrearages relief programs that are beginning to be implemented, these mandatory automatic amortization to debt allow time for customers to gradually address the debts, puts them on the path towards solvency. Customers may contact their energy utility for questions about avoiding bill disconnections. Asia Powell, Local Governments and Community Liaison, California Public Utilities Commission. And the second comment.
Do you mind speaking a little closer to the microphone? Thank you so much.
All right. Second comment is from Mark Alamillo. Good evening, City Council, City Administration, and residents. First, I want to thank the hardworking Public Works crew that installed speed bumps on Gallatin Street 2 weeks ago. The residents who pushed for them are also deserving of praise. With community engagement, a lot is possible. As all of you may be surprised, one issue you hear a lot of from the city residents, including myself, is parking. On the morning of Wednesday, August 11, I took concerns to the watch commander at the police station. He informed me that at this time, the department has only one community service deputy doing parking enforcement. How is that a quality of life issue so big for many residents only has one person addressing it? Last year, when I had a meeting with the chief, he informed me that the department was about to pick up the 4th parking deputy. My hopes were high that parking issues would start being addressed. I have shared my issues with the mayor in the past with the lack of patrol, not just once a week on the street sweeping days or proactively patrolling streets. As all are aware, many cities using parking enforcements to their benefit, addressing parking concerns while bringing in much needed city revenue. In my area, I continue to have cars parked in the middle of the street for hours. Also, another big issue because I am surrounded by mechanic shops where they're broke down cars that are taking up valuable parking. Those cars just sit there for a day. Mayor, would you like me to continue?
No, I believe that time is up. So thank you so much for reading the comments. Really
Mayor
appreciate it.
Barcena?
Please go ahead.
I don't think the timer was reset for the second speaker.
Okay, go ahead and finish off the email, please.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, I'm gonna start. In my area, I continue to have cars parked in the middle of the street for hours. Also another big issue because I am surrounded by mechanic shops where there broke down cars that are taking a valuable parking. Those cars don't just sit there for a day, but sit there for months. Those cars have expired tags that at the very least should be cited per vehicle code. And if it has an expired tag over 6 months, the car can be towed. Neighbors get harassed for visible tarps in their yard and mechanic shops who pose blight to my neighborhood get away with rundown looking shops. Our police officers should not be responding to a call about a car parked in the middle of the street or parked along the red curb. They should be responding to calls like the drive-by shooting that happened 2 houses down from me yesterday. Clearly, drivers in Bell Gardens, residents and non-residents alike know they have disobeyed the law because no one is enforcing them, and when you do not have rules, you have inquiry. Pictures were submitted with this email and will be added to the record.
Thank you so much for reading that comment. And I do think we had a problem with the timer. That's why it was going to be cut short, but now we know the full email. And that was public participation. If there's no objection by the city council, I will close public participation. And we will now move to council
Mayor
comments.
Barson, if I may ask to be recognized, please make a statement.
Yes, go ahead, please, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Barson. Just for the record, want to state that our Zoom webinar meeting in English and Spanish was transmitted perfectly, but we had some technical difficulties with the English language version of the meeting at certain points, which was on Facebook, YouTube, and on our website. So again, the Zoom meeting was 100% English, Spanish, but English, there were some issues intermittently, technical difficulties. And also just state as a follow-up that we post the whole meeting and it will have English and Spanish audio available for public review. Thank you, Mayor Barcena.
Thank you so much for clarifying, city manager. We still have technical difficulties every now and then. I believe at the last meeting, we had a problem with our Facebook section of the meeting. So, you know, it's work in progress, but we do our best here. And now we will move on to council comments, and I will start with Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you so much for that. You know, it's been a while since I've done my So there's been quite a various events that I've attended, tours. I attended quite extensively a couple of tours here and there. First off, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, had the chance to go out with our PD, Councilmember Flores, Councilmember Cortez, joined us, and we were, and City Manager Mike, the Rio Hondo slash riverbed, Rio Hondo riverbed slash trail cleanup. We got to see about the encampments, and essentially we worked with LA County Public Works, the Army Corps. You know, we had our own public works out there, and really just cleaning up the riverbed slash trail, right? There's been quite a discussion in regards to cleaning up the encampments that are there. And I'd say that I think we're already making contact for our second cleanup. And I believe those are posted for individuals to see along the trail, right? So when we were there, we saw quite extensively amount of families riding their bikes and whatnot. So it's a trail that is definitely used, and I can see how the encampments could be a nuisance at times. What I would say moving forward though is, you know, I know we're compassionate warriors, right? And we care about these individuals. I'd say potentially we can develop a data center within our PD, since they're the ones that most of the time are doing outreach or coordinating these efforts, and keeping accountable the individuals that we come across constantly, right? So, for example, today we go out there and we'll do the cleanup, but who's to say that within the next 2 days they're not back there again, right? A lot of times, what ends up happening when we go out there with LASA is we have to offer them the resource. We tell them, hey, we have this shelter available, the closest shelter being in Bell. We have the shelter available here in Bell, and you have to take it because we have this opportunity available. Most of the time, the individuals would say, hey, I'm going with a friend or I'm going with a family member, and at that point, we kind of have to take their word for it, and let's hope that they don't reappear. But what's tended to happen is that individuals tend to come back. Um, and I say we need to have some sort of data or some sort of accountability, making sure that what's the barrier there, what's happening there within 1 or 2 days or within maybe a couple hours that they come back after we just cleaned it up, right? So that's what I'd say. We move forward with the Rio Hondo Riverbed / trail cleanup. I believe we're having another one already. I think we've already made efforts to contact the other agencies, and I'm glad that's happening. But the issue is again that between that span of time, 1 or 2 days or 3 days, they're right back to where they started again, right? Anyways, aside from that, I got a tour of the Woodworth House. I don't know if any of my colleagues has gotten a chance to be there. I know it was a wait turn from the Rio Hondo Riverbed to the Woodworth House. So thank you so much, Director Grisel and one of our public works workers. They got to show me around the Woodward House. This is the house down Foster Bridge. It used to have the 3 trolleys in the front. I always passed by this house, and I didn't know exactly what it was or what condition it was. I just know it's a historical building. So I actually got to see it, and there's like a lot of historical meaning, a lot of historical documents, not just for Bell Gardens, but across the region, right? Moving forward, I don't know if what potential options there are to do programming or do something there. I know the house needs some upkeeping. I know we've had quite a bit of in the city. I think we're glad that we have this sort of building in our city, and not just that, but it's the oldest building in the county that's standing. That saves a lot. And here in Bell Gardens. So got a tour of that. So thank you so much for Director Grisel and the public works worker. I think his name is Enrique or Lalo. I know we call him Lalo. Lalo. So along with that tour, I actually got an American Legion tour. So actually, I shared this one on my social media. The American Legion used to be a church. It's located in Priory, right in front of the Ace Hardware that we were just talking about earlier, right in front of the casino. The flooring that's there, it's been there since the 20s and the 30s, 1920s, 1930s. It's known for having a lot of, in the past, used to host a lot of dances that were known as rockabilly dances. I know it's a big historical site for our veterans, obviously, the American Legion, and I'm thinking maybe a concert. I mean, it has a concert hall, something awesome there. It'd be great. And from the feedback that I was getting on social media, a lot of people were mesmerized by seeing the pictures, and I could just imagine the stories that we'd hear. So I'm glad I got to receive that tour. Following that, we got to attend the Small Fry Awards. So Mayor Barcena, Councilmember Cortez, and myself were there. We got to see the kids from the Small Fry soccer teams be present there, and we got to recognize them and award them for being part of the program. So that was a pleasure being there. Another thing, our wonderful, incredible, and my favorite burger joint in the city, Troy's, got recognized as Small Business of the Year within the 58 Assembly District. This is huge. I'm really glad that I was their nominee. I nominated them to be as one of the small businesses of the year, and I'm really glad that they got picked. Choi's is a staple for our city. It's something that after high school we always go get those chili cheese fries because that's the spot. So I'm glad that they were picked. Big thank you to the Assemblywoman Christina Garcia, for recognizing our incredible Troy's as a small business of the year. I also got to attend the back to school event hosted by Touchpoint Church. It was a great event, and we had to give a ton of backpacks, materials out. I know Councilmember Flores was present at that event as well, and Assemblywoman Christina was also there for a couple hours. So we got to chat with a couple individuals there, a couple residents, and it was just great seeing that. And I look forward to collaborating more with Touchpoint Church as they're very active within the community. Finally, huge thank you to the director herself for setting up and cleaning up and really just getting it organized along with Director Roseanne, the community garden, right? I got to take a tour of the community garden. In the past, I had mentioned that one of my neighbors actually owns a plot within or has a plot within the community garden. So I got constant pressure to get the water up and running, and I'm really glad to see that, within 2 to 3 weeks, we had it all set up. So huge thank you. I got to share that on my social media as well and see the new piping that we have, and just really appreciative that our community garden is up and running. And I believe there's more development that's going to happen there, right? We're probably going to get a canopy there, some new benches and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to that. And then finally, thank you to our BGPD for doing the rodeo this last weekend. Really appreciate that. I saw a couple kids were on there. A couple of kids were out there, and we got to raffle a couple bikes as well. And then finally, our food distribution. Really appreciate all the workers that our recreation leaders are doing, putting foods in boxes. And with that said, I'll go ahead and finish my council member comments. Thank you so much. 7:21. It took about 9 minutes, 8 minutes, give or take. Do apologize about that.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. I commend you for all the involvement that you've been doing in the city and the reports that you bring us here to the meetings. And now we are going to hear from Council Member Cortez, if she happens to be logged on, which I'm not entirely sure. I believe she's still not logged on. So we're gonna go ahead and move over to Council Member Flores.
Thank you. Just wanted to reiterate on one of the comments that Councilmember Chavez made on the Rio Hondo cleanup. Thank you so much, Chief. A lot of people don't know is that our officers were there every single day as the cleanup continued, and it was scorching hot on some of those days. And I just can't imagine like how tough that situation might have been. I actually was out there myself. I took a tour inside one of the encampments, very bravely, I might add. And I got to listen to the story of one of the women that was in one of the encampments. She said that she was from Atwater Village and that she heard it was nicer over here. So she came and she stayed. So it kind of makes me realize that some of the rumors are true, that a lot of the people that are coming into our communities are not originally from our community. And it's good that we're out there cleaning up, but also that at the same time we are offering the services. So I want to make sure that the community is aware that as we're out there, we are providing services. Our police officers are there very kindly. There's Project Room Key. We have shelters. We have everything available for them. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. And then another thing is there was a backpack giveaway as well. Christina Garcia, our Assemblywoman, was there. It was hosted at Touchpoint Church by a grassrooted individual by the name of Felix Escobedo, who grew up in the beautiful city here of Bell Gardens and just decided to give back. So thank you so much to both Felix Escobedo, our Assemblywoman Christina Garcia, Touchpoint Church, to Councilmember Chavez, who was out there, giving out backpacks, and it was great. And I'm glad everybody came out. Those who didn't get a chance to get a backpack at our parks came out the next weekend. So that was good. And just to follow up on the Woodworth, home, I know it's amazing. So a few years ago, I should say maybe 1 or 2 years ago, I gave direction to seek for a grant because it falls under the museum grants, and that actually qualifies. That's all the qualifications to become a museum. So I'll go ahead and give that direction again. I don't know if it was blocked or it fell through somewhere, but I'll go ahead and give that direction once more. And I want to also commend you for remaining active. I think that as your focus remains on the community's focus will continue to be on you. So congratulations on that. It's not very easy, and you have to be very genuine to be able to continue that. So congratulations on how to keep it up. And lastly, I just want to reach, I don't know how to finish this meeting, but end my comments in the memory of 4 individuals who recently lost their life. Carol Christenen, I went to high school with you. She was a year older. She was an amazing piano player, an amazing dancer. She was also a veteran, and she recently passed away from COVID. Um, Her father passed away from COVID a few days ago too, both Bell Gardens residents. I'm really sorry. I'm really hurt, and I just want you guys to continue to be safe. I also want to mention Miguel Sanchez Tortoledo, who was a really good friend of mine. His whole family has been a great friend of mine since I moved to Bell Gardens, actually. And he recently lost his life, not to COVID, but to other health struggles. Our community will never be the same without you. Um, to my friend Will Escobedo, who was my neighbor. And to my friend Nadine Garcia, who was one of the funniest girls I ever met. My condolences go out to all the families. You guys were very loved, as you guys can tell. And so we meet again.
And Mayor, when we adjourn, the appropriate adjournment would be to adjourn in the memory of those mentioned by Councilmember Flores. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Flores, for sharing those very moving remarks, and we will definitely have a moment of silence at the end of the meeting. We'll go ahead and allow Mayor Pro Tem Pulido to have her public comment, please.
No comments from me.
Thank you. And as for myself, I'll just move directly into a moment of silence for not only the members of the community that were mentioned by Councilmember Flores, but also all of the friends and family of Bell Gardens residents that we've lost over the years. It's already been almost like 2 years since COVID, and let's have a moment of silence, please, and let's adjourn also in memory of them. Thank you, and if there's no objection by the City Council, I will now adjourn the City Council meeting at 7:27 p.m.